true, nervous. Very dreadfully nervous I had been, and I am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed nor dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heavens and on the earth. I heard many things in hell. Now then, am I mad? It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me, never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture. I made my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. Upon the 8th night I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my own sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. His room was as black as pitch. I had my head in and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening. The old man sprang up in a bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quiet still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle. And in the meantime, I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed, listening, just as I have done night after night. Hearkening to the death watches in the wall, presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor, or it is merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to confront himself, to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found it all in vain. When I had waited a long time very patiently without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern until at length a simple dim ray, like a thread of the spider shot from out of the crevice, fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I say there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say louder every moment. I thought my heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound will be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once, only once. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor, pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone cold dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe to you the wise precautions I took for the concealment of his body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head, the arms, and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. Then I replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. Ha ha ha! When I made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the door. I went down to open it with a light heart. What have I to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged, and police officers had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them to search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures. Secure, undisturbed in the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room, desired them here to rest from their fatigue, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my own perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chattered of familiar things, but ere long felt myself getting pale. I wished them gone. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. What can I do? Why would they not be gone? Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I'd been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder and louder and louder. Still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no. They heard, they suspected, They knew, making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now again, hark, louder, 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 louder. Villains, I shrieked, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here is the beating of his hideous heart.